Kanpai! Welcome, weebs, to this week's episode of Kanpai Cast, where we are talking about Western productions influenced by anime. Or thereabouts, you know, stuff like that. So, first of all, housekeeping. Did you know that you could like, comment, and subscribe to this channel?
Oh.
All you have to do is just scroll down a little bit and hit the various different buttons, and don't forget to ring that bell. That's the YouTube malarkey out of the way. The actual cool thing is that this topic is a modified topic that's suggested by one of our lucky viewers. So Zrugel proposed the topic, the anime we have at home, which is actually the inspiration of, you know, what anime. So what animation, what cartoons do we want to talk about in terms of Western production stuff? However, I haven't really watched any cartoons in the last, like, 25 years. I'm probably going back a bit further than that. Pretty much. Pretty much.
You watched Invincible and...
I've only watched the first season of that.
Well, that's enough.
Arcane.
And Arcane.
Oh, come on, Arcane.
Castlevania.
Vox Machina?
And
come on, Vox Machina anime. Whatever.
ThunderCats.
Yeah, definitely.
Young Justice.
Young Justice anime, whatever. Anyway.
He-Man, Masters of the Universe.
Didn't watch Samurai Jack.
Actually, I've never watched Samurai Jack all the way through either. I tried, and I just got bored.
I just never watched. I couldn't stomach one episode.
Wow.
Yeah, just didn't like it.
Shame.
Right.
But that's honestly fair.
But the whole point of this is because we couldn't just categorically recommend stuff from America or the West in general. You know, we thought we'd actually put a spin on the topic and make it about Western productions that clearly have, or arguably have, anime influences. Yeah. So, and, you know, did they do it right? Did they do it wrong? And would we recommend watching that cartoon? So, I think to start off the topic itself, one that I think we can all categorically say is anime, and I realize I haven't actually run the deck board updater, is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My God.
So...
Luckily for you,
I have to actually hit small people first. Ha ha. I'm on the ball. I am here.
Yep. Good job, Nasuth. Well done. Good job. So, yeah, I don't know who wants to kick this off, but personally... I feel that Nickelodeon with Avatar: The Last Airbender, they try to target a more mature audience. And that is like on par with what they do as a company. I feel that Avatar: The Last Airbender does a lot with anime energy, anime... tropes, so on and so forth, and has actually produced an extremely good show.
Yes, I agree.
I would actually argue that this one, yes, very anime, but The Legend of Korra, less so. Because it's definitely, it has a much more Western industrial aesthetic going on than even like a turn of the Industrial Revolution in Japan feeling. Like it, you know, that has its own distinct feeling, whereas the Western Industrial Revolution had its own distinct feeling as well.
Can I ask you to elaborate on that, because you've lost me entirely?
Okay, so the Industrial Revolution was sort of imposed on Japan, and you had this very interesting clash of traditionalism versus the coming change. Whereas in America or even Europe, it was very just quickly sort of adopted and became the norm.
Yeah, it was the future, is the way that Europe and America were developing, it was the new thing. It was what was supposed to happen because of the changes we were making ourselves.
I feel like the only real hint of that you have in Korra is the air nomads trying to, Aang's son trying to restart the air nomads. Other than that, everything else, they have these huge buildings now and cars running everywhere, and they've just fully embraced it within one generation.
Yes, which seems to be almost imposed on them in the same way that the Industrial Revolution was brought to Japan. I feel like it's a natural thing for them. They've fully embraced it. Yeah, whereas in Japan, they fully embraced it. Yes, but it's so sudden. It feels almost like it was brought to them, and they've just gone, "Oh, this is great. Let's do it." It wasn't.
No, I think the idea is that they have peace now, and so they can do it.
Yeah, that could be a good answer for it. Yes. So without the constant things of war, all the inventors suddenly came forward and said, yeah, we can actually use this.
Yeah.
Which is usually what happens after wartime, is all the things that were developed in wartime suddenly become available to the public.
Yes. Yeah. And there's really no traditional
mech suits. That was a bit weird.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Thaylien. Repeat that.
I say all the way to the point of mech suits, though, was a bit weird.
Yeah, they did actually create mech suits. That is true. That is fair. But I don't know, the different nations and stuff, and the way that they all were very Asian inspired in the original, as opposed to Korra.
Yes.
It does not have that same flavor and anime inspired vibe to me.
It's too homogenized in Korra, and I want to say they really did capture lightning in a bottle with The Legend of Aang, because I'd like to modify Xeno's statement. It's not that they tried to target a more adult audience; it's that they stopped treating kids like idiots. They assumed.
Just look at this. Look at this image right here. This is so anime, right?
It 100% is. So the thing is that they stopped assuming that kids couldn't understand motivation and things coming from more mature storylines, because of course kids have been reading books, reading complex stories at pre-teenagers for a long time. When did you first read Lord of the Rings?
I'm not a brilliant example of this because, in all honesty, I didn't really learn how to read until I was like 15. So it's
surprisingly, I didn't learn how. I didn't learn how to. No, I didn't read Lord of the Rings until I was like 18, 19 either. So that's that.
Wow.
But I was reading a lot of other stuff before that.
I was reading David Eddings and
yes, David Eddings. Yes, I own the entire Belgariad series. I've read it so many times. I've read his other stuff. 100%.
Yes, exactly. Whoa, what's your particular favorite and why?
Oh gosh, probably Belgarath the Sorcerer, literally, because it's the history of the world, and you can read it both at the beginning and the end of the series. It bookends both ways, and that's actually the first book I read, and then I read all the other ones.
Nice. See, mine is book 3 of the Belgariad, because it's literally introducing the concept of tsundere to my childlike mind in the first chapter. Before that concept even occurred to England from anime, the character archetype of a small angry redhead who can't express how much she likes her lover to be is in my head and has been. He does
kind of just write the same story over and over again. I mean, the Millennium of the Tamuli is basically the same. The Redemption of Alpha is basically
similar.
The same. I'm not opposed to that. It's a great story, great archetype.
So that's the kind of thing that Avatar kind of expresses quite well. Is you've got a great setting, a great story, a great journey. And even though some of the tropes are really, really common, And even though the animation is very heavily based off that the anime styling, it is still distinctly a Western creation.
They put their own twist on it.
Yes. I don't think that a Japanese author would have come up with Avatar: The Last Airbender in the format it is.
I maybe so, but I think narratively speaking, they would have. Right? I think, considering
the idea of
we
a
have
chosen
such,
one who's reincarnated.
Not just that, but it's also the fact that we have shows like Dungeon Meshi and Frieren, which we would never expect to come out of Japan, right? Like I swear, like every single time I've like watched anything to do with Frieren, I just double check. It's like, is this secretly German? Is this secretly German? No,
yeah, it almost makes
it's
you
still
wonder
okay.
if they've been inspired by the West in some of these aspects.
Well,
yes. What I mean is, Xeno, okay, take soccer as an example.
Yeah.
Okay, soccer is obviously the comedy relief. He's obviously the character that learns a lot about being a normal person from his own experiences, getting his ass handed to him a couple of times. And he is a great character because he actually grows from it. He's very misogynistic when he starts off, and it does take getting his ass kicked by a girl for him to realise that, oh no, actually, maybe they have something to teach me. But when he realises it, he does accept it and actually goes and learns.
He also goes from being a pure meathead to actually realizing that, tactics and subterfuge can sometimes be useful.
Yes.
And, yeah.
His own swordsmanship training, where he actually learned how to craft his own sword. He didn't do it in the same way that other people would, but he got praise for being himself, and that was very, very clever. In an anime version of this, Sokka would have been the funny man, and he would have had a straight man character to balance him, who would constantly, like, yes, you don't be an idiot, and smack him down again. They only did that a couple of times where it would actually be applicable in Avatar, because in this it was more about him growing from a child to an actual character, and less about him being the comedy relief.
Learning to stop idolizing his father and become his own man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And overcoming the guilt that he had from things like not having gone through his rite of passage the way that everybody else in his tribe did, because his father wasn't there to take him. Little things like that.
I think some of that definitely would have shown up in anime, because there's definitely an emphasis on that sort of coming of age idea.
There
but I think
been.
You're right that it probably would have been a different character, and Sokka would have just been like, they would have added a fourth character to the trio before Toph.
I don't know. I kind of appreciate where you're coming from, because it is very stereotypical within anime to have that juxtaposition of funny man, straight man, right? But I also feel that those shows are extremely targeted at younger audiences. A brilliant example of this is Shaman King, right? Shaman King is what? Demon Slayer.
You're going to say Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
But even so, Demon Slayer is still targeted at a younger audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I just feel like the mature themes in Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's a lot more mature.
Universal.
Which
it's a lot more universal. Well, it can be watched as a child and it can be watched as an adult, and they will both get good things out of it.
Yeah. But like my point is that I feel with Avatar: The Last Airbender that it is trying to make sense of a greater story, which a lot of the Shonen Jump shows don't really try to do much.
Yeah. Aang would have just gotten stronger through the power of friendship and will alone, rather than having to go through actual trials and learn about himself and the world.
Maybe. But there's an episode I always come back to when I'm talking about Avatar that's very, very good, is when they're on the run from Princess Azula. Okay? And they keep being found because Appa's shedding his hair. Right? And it's getting caught on trees and it's leaving a clear trail for them even though he's flying. And so every time they settle down to try and make camp and go to sleep, they keep getting chased down by this violent gang of women, which of course is my favourite kind of enemy. And and they have to keep packing up and leaving very quickly because they're not in a state to fight. When they find the problem, they deal with it and go to move on. But the end of the episode isn't some triumphant thing of we got away. It's a quiet and mature scene of them just curling up and taking the rest, going to sleep. They're not cheering, they're not, celebrating. They're just like, oh,
finally,
now we can sleep. We can finally rest. We're okay. We're safe. And that, to me, is a way better way of handling the end of that kind of thing, because they are ultimately still children.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, you can take that, whether you're a kid or whether you're an adult, look at it and say that that's the right ending. To
I don't
that
think you
scene.
could as a kid. I don't think kids would appreciate it as much as adults would. I think kids would be like, "Yay! Why aren't they happy? They should be happy. They won! Yay!"
Yeah, but that's what makes it so good for kids, is that it exposes them to this alternate idea of, even when you win, it's not necessarily like, they're still exhausted.
Yeah.
They're still they need this rest is their celebration.
Right.
Yes, even their heroes need to sleep.
Okay. Before we spend even more time on just Avatar, and we've got so many other shows. I kind of want to pivot to another show that we kind of brought up just before we started recording, that ChatGPT has so lovingly added to this list of Western productions heavily inspired by anime, and that is Invincible.
Which one? Okay, Invincible.
Right. Cool. I don't agree with this in the slightest.
100%.
I feel that
on the one hand, you could say you've got Tiger and Bunny, but Tiger and Bunny is clearly Western-inspired animation.
Yes, but done in definitely in an anime style. This is a comic book series.
Yes, 100%.
It's been done in a comic book style of animation.
The only thing this has in common with anime is that it's similar to the way DC does a lot of their similar, not exactly the same, but similar to the way DC does a lot of their animations. And if one of the other shows on this list is to be believed, DC is that flavor of DC animation is inspired by anime. So I think that you could make that connection, but I don't agree with that anyway. So
no,
this is not. I don't think this is anime.
Even though Invincible is a brilliant production, and I've read all the comics and everything, and I love it. I think it's brilliant. I love the fact that it actually ends. Invincible to me is very far removed from anime, right? It's like trying to compare the Flintstones to Rick and Morty, right? Like,
or the Jetsons to Rick and Morty, probably more accurately.
No. I do mean the Flintstones, because like there's such a huge disparity between the subjects. Okay. They're not even in the same genre, right? It's
you obviously don't remember the Mr. Kazoo episodes then.
We're not going down this, right? But the whole point is, like, with Invincible, it is a show about basically what happens when the Earth's mightiest hero
turns out to be a bad guy.
Isn't so much a hero,
Yes, is just an envoy of something worse.
Yeah. Well.
And it's when you really start to see the villainous nature of some of these characters when they start treating people as things and as obstacles in their way. And that is there's some serious stuff going on. I mean, yeah, in terms of the actual comic book action and writing, Invincible's really good. I would highly recommend this show to anybody that likes scene in anime. Because
even though it's not anime.
No, because even though it has nothing animation-wise or even really writing-wise that matches it, it still has that specific thing of it's a mature show talking about mature themes with some heavy leaning into the violence. And it is for those people that do like more mature animation. You'd never show this to a kid.
But it's not just like edgy for the sake of being edgy. It's actually smart and well written and thoughtful and all those things that you want in a show.
Yeah, and in terms of a first episode shock, I would rate Invincible's first episode shock higher than I would Goblin Slayer's first episode shock.
And in terms of a season 1 finale, also really good.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, part of the problem is that they've skipped a lot in the pacing.
Have they?
It is. Yeah, they really fly by a lot of the narrative. Because I think it's 25 volumes of the trade paperback, the whole thing. And I think they get through, the first few, 3 or 4. And
do you know how many the second season covers?
No, I haven't watched the second season. I haven't got a clue.
Oh, second season is pretty good.
Yeah. But I also feel that when it comes to anime, going into some of the production problems that Invincible's had, right, where they released 4 episodes of season 2, and then they were on hiatus for an eternity before they released the last 2.
Last four.
Okay, so it was an 8-episode season. It just I don't
Animation
know.
is notoriously hard for American companies to get out on a regular schedule. I don't know if it's because of the style, are they trying to put too much detail into it compared to anime? Is it just because Japan, a lot of Asia, Southeast Asia is dedicated to anime as a genre, and so they've got production stuff already in place, as opposed to America, where if you're not doing children's animation, which is easy and simplistic, then you're having to deal with a much smaller industry. I don't know what the deal is, but yes, it is notoriously like this.
I do feel that you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is complication. So you don't. So in anime, you have very limited.
You had the same thing happening with the Venture Brothers and a lot of Adult Swim stuff, all the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of the problem is that when you have complex animations, right, they want to make it 100% perfect, right? And they make a lot of the animations for a lack of a better way of putting it, a luxury, right? Watching Omni-Man do anything, it is as if you were watching a live action show and things like that, because the animation is so fluid. You don't get nearly the same number of hiccups that you do in anime, right? Some anime you see hands, you're like, what is that claw?
Some of them are really off model,
yeah, some of them they just make so many errors and things like that.
Some of them are intentionally off model, but it's not like the Western style where some of the intentional off model stuff is specifically for emphasis, squash, and deformation to help with the impact. It's not like Tom and Jerry kind of, super squash and super deform. But still,
but I think a large part of it is that because everything is so complex in nature, it requires so much more effort to do it.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is just something that the industry doesn't facilitate, and America just doesn't want to facilitate it.
Well, no, because animation is for babies. It's not for grown-ups. You're not supposed to, unless it's like Bob's Burgers, which again, very simplistic style, very easy to crank out. But otherwise, animation's for babies. Why would we put money into something for adults when it's not? Anyway.
Right. So
it's weird that
I want to jump to another one that
Sure.
I think we have a difference of opinion. Unless
Is it the one I was referring to when I said
Nope.
DC? Oh, okay.
Nope. But if you want to take it there first, Nasuth, I'll happily let you take it there first.
I think I would. I think I'd like to get it out of the way.
Go for it.
So the other one I was talking about was apparently not only this one, but mainly Batman the Animated Series, because that did sort of set the style of DC from the 90s forward. Because you had the Superman series that came out around like slightly later than this, and it was clearly mimicking the exact same style. And then obviously Justice League and whatnot. And so ChatGPT says this one is anime inspired. I honestly don't feel it. Maybe it's just because it's so 1920s noir or 1940s noir.
It's amusing, actually, because something I noticed when I was getting the shots for the show, for the screenshots and things. In this one, this is before Batman used to vanish. This is before they established that thing of turn around and, where's he gone? Like mid-conversation.
It would happen sometimes, but you're right.
It would happen sometimes, but in this one, they clearly show like Commissioner Gordon waiting for him at a crime scene and Batman rising up from behind a couple of dumpsters. To walk up behind him. And one of them where Batman literally ducks behind something in the scenery.
It's more that he's just stealthy and less that he's a ninja.
Yeah. And for the entire first episode, the first episode is where they introduce Selena Kyle and Catwoman as a thing. He never puts any kind of pose. We see the iconic pose in the opening sequence with him, lit up by lightning on the rooftop. You don't see anything like that in any episode. He is crouched low. He is concealed in places. He's stalking in the shadows. Really difficult to get a clear shot of him because he's often half hidden in the background of a shot. And the actual animated series has a really cool thing where if it wants to really show something is very heavily dark themed, they actually do darken and vignette that area of the screen. So a good example is that I think it's the third episode is the Man-Bat. They first introduced it. Yes, and when Man-Bat transforms, you actually, we've got a screenshot of him here in the list. But when he transforms, he throws his head back, and you can just see the very faintest outline of like movement there. But the screen is vignetted out. So you just see his shoulders being thrown wide as he's stretching his head back.
Can you elaborate for the people at home that don't understand what you mean by vignetted?
It's where you gradient the to black at the edge of the screen. So this is a technique often used in photography to make something seem more contrasty, where the main focus on the center of the screen is in full color, but then it darkens and darkens and darkens until you get to the corners. That's what's known as a vignette.
Right.
Actually, if you're watching Kanpai Cast right now, instead of listening to our audio version, we have a single direction vignette underneath us on our cameras, where we go to the blue color.
Yep.
That's technically a vignette, where it obscures what's on the thing and gets steadily more solid towards the edges. This is a light vignette as opposed to the Batman style dark vignette.
But back to the similarities to anime. Like, I just don't see them. All the guys, well, most of the guys are big and bulky, and shaped like triangles or trapezoids, and
Doritos.
Yeah. Maybe you could say the women, because they tend to have bigger eyes and a more shapely figure, but that's also a comic book conceit.
Face.
So
Yes, it is.
Less so the eyes, but the figure for sure is a comic book conceit. So I don't see it. Even the action and stuff doesn't feel very anime.
Right, so I will say that the influence, I do think there is some influence here, but it's not in massive amounts. There was a sudden shift in nose designs, where noses were had a lot more prominence in design. All of a sudden they became just more, and here's an angle, right? You can see it on the henchmen.
A line delineation.
Well, that's just because they're so far in the background that they're getting rid of detail.
Well, even so, there you go. Catwoman's
That's
three
a pretty
lines
defined nose.
Yeah, but it
is actually
not
far more defined than the average anime would do. But
yes, but still, for the time, it was a case of like, hey, let's influence this. Yes, you've also got the point of the eyes as well, Nasuth, for the female characters. Most of the male characters had like
normal eyes, pretty much
nail heads.
But if you look at the cell shading. It is really pronounced cell shading on all of the areas, the highlights, shadows, I think it's clear cut. So it's obviously taken that easier anime style, because it's a very, very stark contrast and able to fit in with the noir of Batman really, really well. It allows them to have some really good, contrasty characters without oversaturating the colors. Look at him. Look at the musculature. It's all cell shading, just like an anime would be. So it's actually it's a take on that anime shading style.
Disagree.
I mean, it's difficult to say, because like, what else came out in '92 that you think has the same sort of...
I'd have to go look, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, like, one of the better parts...
when X-Men came out. When did that come out?
Oh, that was... I think that was
95,
around 92,
wasn't it?
94. No,
funnily enough...
I think it was like 92, 94, something.
Funnily enough, a good anime that came out that uses almost exactly the same shading style is Tenchi Moyo Ryoki.
That's true.
If you look up the images of that, just Ryoki themselves as a character, incredibly style like that. So while like the cover art and things is far more detailed, the things there, it's right there. The simplistic shading style makes a faster production, and it's used. I think it's probably because they had they were looking for a way to cut the costs exactly the same way that anime does.
Here we have Ninja Turtles in 1987, also with very stark cell shading. No. You're wrong.
That's not 87. That was not 87 just then.
That one's not 87.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see it. If you already had animation like this,
considering you're comparing TMNT, where the N stands for ninja, I mean,
no, also, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, okay. If you say that, but guess who did the animation for that?
Who?
You say Japan.
Yeah. It's a Japanese animation studio.
Okay.
So that's where most of the cartoons of the early 90s and late 80s were actually animated, was Japan. You look
okay,
at
but
even
that doesn't make it
one of the shows.
anime
One of the shows that we've got on the list is ThunderCats, and that is famously an anime that was just that they had farmed out to that Japanese animation studio. They just used English dubbing for.
Sure.
We're talking about the original ThunderCats.
We don't have the original, but that's what the original was. That's why the remake in 2011 looks very anime, because it was literally animated originally by a Japanese animation studio.
Was doing that in 2011 too. So was the remake of He-Man in around that same time, or was that 2000?
No, that was much earlier. That was like early 2000s.
Yeah,
no, it was
something like that. Yeah, but even like at that point, anime had become more widespread and well known, and yes, you were starting to see it really creep into animation styles at that point.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I think that's why we're seeing why I'm seeing so many comparisons, is because a lot of the animation at the time would be shared. So the characters would be designed as a part to match the Western comics, but the actual animation, the processes would be taken from these the techniques that anime style animators would use, because they really did help cut costs down. They really did allow them to turn out more, a show more effectively, and yet still have that comic book style.
Batman is quite a difficult one, because it was still in the era of doing proper animation cells and everything.
One that's much more clearly anime inspired was Teen Titans, for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Especially Teen Titans Go, but we don't talk about that one because it's the wrong kind of anime inspired.
We don't talk about Go.
But
no,
we don't really need to talk about Teen Titans right now, unless you want to. I don't think, because you were talking. You wanted to go to a different one.
I want to go and I want to talk about Arcane.
Okay.
Right.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about how Arcane is anime inspired, and personally, I'm just gonna be upfront here. I don't see it. I don't see the anime inspiration in that lives in Arcane. I personally, I'm looking at this, and this looks to me, we've got a high detailed concept art, and we applied animation to it.
Yeah,
and that is just basically Riot Games, who made League of Legends, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
I mean,
on the other hand, if you've seen the designs that Riot come up with for League of Legends characters, their history through, which I've only brushed over because I've never played League of Legends. I carry that quite proudly, ladies and gentlemen at home. I've never played League of Legends.
Good. But they have released a lot of music videos and stuff with their characters.
Yes.
And they do look very anime-like in those.
Yeah. They use K-pop. They use artists that specifically can appeal to the Japanese and Korean audiences.
Right, but that's because those music videos are trying to appeal to the demographic that listens to K-pop, right?
Yes.
Right? That's not the same as saying that
it's also a different style than this. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it is a different. So what impressed me, if you look at the character art, it does have more leaning towards anime than it does towards comic books. Okay, not because of how they've produced the actual artwork, but more the way the characters are put together, with the asymmetry, the proportioning, the leaning towards quite a few of them are leaning towards more historical Japanese style as well, for their to take powers from, while others are, obviously high fantasy or steampunk or everything else. There is a very good amount of content that is Japanese inspired in the first place. So I think that there is a far more of an amalgamation of all the styles for Arcane.
I want to latch on to the fact that, and I apologize because I wasn't able to listen to the whole of what you just said, because you said that, I'm paraphrasing, you wouldn't see the style, the artistic style in Arcane in comic books, right?
No, I said, the way I put it is that it's more leaning towards anime style than it would be towards comic books. Many comic book characters don't have the same physical layout to their character design as comic book characters do.
Right, but I argue anything that's Stefan Sage, and for context, Stefan Sage, or Stefan Sajic, as a lot of people refer to him as, who is a comic book artist that primarily deals with cover art. This, looking at Arcane, it screams me Stefan Sage through and through, right? It doesn't, I can't think of any anime or manga that looks like this.
No, but that's the thing, isn't it?
I can think of one that's close, but not exact.
You're quite right. This is a uniquely styled way of putting things forward. But the inspiration, I feel, is there in how the characters have been, in how they've been created, not how they're drawn.
I don't know. These look like very Western characters to me.
So, sorry, I apologize. Basically, if we were to take a bog standard list of attributes, it sounds more like an anime character than a Western comic book character. And I will agree with you on that regard. Visually putting it together can have a spin in so many different ways. You could make it look like Western, or you could make it look like Eastern. It doesn't really make a difference. It's the list of attributes.
Yes.
I will give you that.
If you were to redesign these, if you were to redraw this thing as a 2D animation.
So these are anime characters with Western style.
Yeah, I think this would pass as an anime if you just redo it as a 2D anime. The same shot for shot, everything else, the same characters each way, I think would pass for an anime.
I would be really interested, just as an experiment, to get an artist, give them a list of attributes for a character, and then see what they come up with. And see if they would lean towards an anime design or a Western design. But of course,
it might depend on what they usually draw in the first place.
I know, that's what I was thinking, is they probably more unlikely lean on their own style.
But it's even, one of the things that really impressed me is how they do their impact scenes. So there's a lot of good things from when they show explosions and things. They do slice-in frames of chromatic aberration where it's obviously hand-drawn, where somebody's actually gone in and scribbled lines of black
so for everyone
to make
else's
a single frame.
For everyone else's benefit, what he means is when they do explosions, it's drawn by hand on the cell as opposed to done in CG.
For a frame or two, just as opposed to they cut in just to have a specific eye catch of where, in the same way that if we go back to old Tom and Jerry, where you'd get electrocuted and you suddenly for just a couple of frames see their skeleton, it's something that's blink and you'll miss it, but if you pause it at the right time, you can see a frame that has the movement and the character has just been scribbled physically onto the animation cell, maybe with a computer-generated brush or something, but it's going to be like that with just a little bit of the background color to match, to just have the eye blur out that scene.
I do feel
very impressive.
I do, don't get me wrong, I love Arcane. I think Arcane is gorgeous, it is engaging, it is fantastic. But after hearing that it's only going to have 2 seasons, it makes me feel that, like most Western productions, it is suffering. Just like, oh, well, you can't get it under this budget and get us gajillions of views. Well, we don't want it. And, like, I hate that kind of attitude.
Netflix also has a habit of canceling things after 2 seasons so that they don't have to worry about paying writers as much. Because there's like a standard thing where if a show makes it to its 3rd season, the writers automatically get more money or something like that. And so that's why a lot of Netflix shows don't get a 3rd season. Wow. Even if it's doing moderately well.
I watched, and for poor, I've never actually seen it, but poor Blue-Eyed Samurai, which
that was the other one I was going to talk about because it has a very similar. Yeah, it has a very, to me anyway. Just looking, because I haven't watched Arcane. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes or something and got bored. But just visually, I feel like there's something similar going on here. Even though this one is clearly more Asian inspired, I feel like it has that same sort of. It's almost Western in a weird way, and so yeah, it's just it came to mind when Thaylien was talking about style, and I was trying to think of anything else that has anime characters but a more Western style, and this one came to mind.
Yeah. Still, it's interesting. I think we could actually pivot from this thing of Western shows that just aren't making they're not making 2nd seasons and things because of the major studios just saying, well, you would have to up your pay, or we don't want to fund you more. And you could take a show instead like Hazbin Hotel. And Hazbin Hotel is literally independent animation. This is Vivienne Medrano, Vivzipop, on YouTube, having one of her shows bought by Amazon to publish. And
I also don't know if this one's anime inspired, though, really.
Oh, it definitely is, because of who Vivzipop is. But it is uniquely the animation that's designed for this kind of setting. Okay. The original artist very much leaned on anime to come up with their original style. And I
think the problem is, at this point, anime has been so incorporated into a Western style that it's sort of become its own thing again. Even something like My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, technically speaking, is anime inspired. And I don't know, like, it becomes so difficult to pull them apart anymore.
Well, it's just the New West. That's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So the thing with this one, because it's completely independent animation at its base, it's definitely addressing topics that wouldn't usually be addressed by a lot of the other big studios, because this would never get funded usually. Not with some of the topics it's addressing, not with some of the subjects it goes through, and just takes as normal. It's like, oh, of course these things exist, therefore we're going to have them in our show. It's a musical, which of course is not usual for an anime. And it's clearly Broadway musical inspired in that respect. You have an opening song that gets reprised in other episodes later. You have a villain song that is countermanded later by the protagonist to counter their own point. But in terms of the movement, the energetic way it projects some of its characters, it definitely has that feel of somebody who grew up watching anime has decided to make their own thing. I mean,
There's another one I've actually never really watched. I think I watched like the pilot episode on YouTube, and then never actually watched the real production.
I've 100% seen the pilot, and then it wasn't until later did I see a comparison of the pilot to the final production, and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that they were actually different. Would I don't know if I would agree that there is enough here to say it's anime inspired.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, which artists aren't inspired by some form of anime?
Exactly.
It is, I think, diluted at some point. I think where America will start bleeding in anime-inspired animation styles.
Even something like Shy, I would say, has American inspirations in it.
But that's more in the narrative side of things, right? Less, artists.
Yeah, you still got your anime characters in that. Yeah, for sure.
The one we can categorically say that has been heavily influenced by America, right, by the West, is Panty and Stockings. That is the anime.
That is, that's South Park, isn't it?
I would say more Powerpuff Girls, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Although Powerpuff Girls, technically speaking, anime inspired.
Anyway,
I thought you were going to say Castlevania because that one.
I would. I'd definitely recommend. Before we say, I'd definitely recommend Hazbin Hotel to people. I mean, if you've only watched the pilot, then you haven't seen what this show has to offer yet. As a series, it's fantastic.
Doesn't it have singing in it?
Yes, it does have singing in it.
I'm good.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Even Philistine.
You are middling at best.
I hate random outbursts of singing.
They're not random. They're incredibly well planned.
Sure they are.
Each one advanced the plot.
I would hope so.
Which is surprising because a lot of musicals they don't. A lot
I know.
of musicals it's just because there's you get
we got some time
so
to
emotional. You've got some time to fill, but also because they try to say if you get emotional, you raise your voice. If you get too emotional that shouting doesn't work, you sing, and that's how they just feed any scene into a song in a musical thing.
I bet Xeno actually liked. I bet Xeno actually really liked the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So he's probably lying.
No, I think that was one of the very few that I just wanted to shoot myself. Before season 5
it got really bad.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that is a good coincidence because some of the things you're saying right now make me want to shoot you too.
Oh, damn.
Legitimate. So with Castlevania, talking more about
good
stuff,
Castlevania.
I feel that there is a lot of heavy anime inspiration in
this one is actually a Western production, isn't it? Yeah?
Technically, yes.
Technically speaking, yeah.
So I think the animation studio was in South Korea, I think. But that's
where all the animation studios are, really.
True, but what the difference is between Japan and America is where America will rely heavily on those East Asian studios to do the whole of the job. Japan will get them to do the between frames.
Yeah.
Right? So Japan still does the keyframes. The big thing about Castlevania is actually very similar to what we were saying with Invincible, right? So this heavily relies on basically all the design choices and all the production choices of anime, but it is clean. It has the extra mile put in to make sure that the quality of production is there. And Castlevania, not Nocturne. Castlevania is an extremely good show, and this is one of the ones that I really highly recommend people check out. But stop.
Yes.
at season 4 and do not watch Nocturne.
I still need to watch Nocturne.
It will ruin things for you.
Don't watch Nocturne.
I still need to watch Nocturne.
Don't worry about it, Nasuth. Don't worry about it.
Don't.
But yeah, this is definitely another one where it looks very Western. Like, all the character designs are very Western, but
100%.
everything. If you did not know this was commissioned by a Western company, you would think it was an anime studio aping Western style.
Yeah.
And
because it's the story and the characters are set in, well, not just like Castlevania, in a Western country, in the middle of Europe. It's a alternate reality Europe, but it's definitely ancient Europe, with the design of its castles, the design of its towns, the absolute state of their healthcare. And this is the kind of place that genuinely would hang onions in their window to
Wallachia is historically a geographically region of modern day Romania.
That makes
sense. But still, this is still an alternate reality, Wallachia.
Oh, fair enough. But
yes.
I think also, like, if you don't mind, I want to go on to why not to watch Nocturne. Not to continue to rag on the joke or anything like that. Basically, they took too much of what the original Castlevania had defined as the rules of the setting, the lore of the setting, and they just butchered it. Like, some rules that they established, like vampires can't be out at daylight, and it's just like, oh no, apparently they can do that if they're wearing if they have an umbrella. It's like,
well,
what?
Yeah. No, you had that one character that went out in Sunbreaker, like sun armor. As long as they can keep the sun off of them, that's fine.
But Nasuth, the sheer volume of effort that armor made is like, oh yeah, so what happens if there's like, there is scenes where a character literally stood in light.
If you're just walking around, you can just carry an umbrella.
Right, but there's one character who is literally stood in sunlight in one scene, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden they move their hand a bit into the light, and then it just like it starts to catch fire. It's like, wait, hold on, but they've already been standing in the light. What's going on here? The continuity's whack.
Is it a case of they just didn't draw the shadow very well from the umbrella, or did they not have an umbrella at that point?
No, at this point in time, they didn't have an umbrella. And it's just like, so wait, which is it? Is it a case of they can stand in the light and not catch fire, or they can stand in the light and will catch fire? I don't understand. Pick one.
Is it certain amounts of daylight?
I think it's just quality assurance. I just think it's quality assurance, and instead of redoing it, they just went, whatever.
No one will notice.
Yeah.
Except we did.
Anyway, but moving on. Where do we want to go next?
I think...
Well, we brought up Powerpuff Girls. We want to talk about the person who probably really spawned stuff like Steven Universe and Hazbin Hotel. Is it Gennady or Gendy? Tartakovsky?
Gendy
Tartakovsky? Because I haven't watched this all the way through. I've watched a fair chunk of it. But
I did.
This man was definitely anime inspired with Powerpuff Girls and this show. 100%.
Yes.
And this style has sort of become the standard with things like, again, Steven Universe and Fizzy Pop's Hazbin Hotel and a bunch of other things.
Yes. Because I think we've got a few others on the list that would fit. But Samurai Jack, even just in its presentation, some of its episodes, there's not a single word of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells a full story. And it's taking that essence of old samurai movies and giving it a sci-fi fantasy twist, which I absolutely loved. There was the opening scenes, obviously, the opening things I've taken from the screenshots show these fantastic things with training up a kid in all the different martial arts styles of the world. Skills that he'll need.
Was it
like horse riding from the? Oh God, who was it that they actually took him to? Staff training from the Africans, the Middle Easterns with their absolute love of breeding horses. So learning how to do that. All of these things actually do come in later on. The things he goes through in the first few episodes to train him get used. There's 100% the thing of the skills that he gains, the life he goes through, is used later on in the show to show that it wasn't all in vain. That it actually all means something. But
you can still see hints of the like I say hints. You can still see vast swaths of Western animation, inspired by those DC animation shows, in the body proportions and the square jaws and the over exaggerated calf muscles and whatnot.
But you look at the way that the characters are presented. It's almost in some cases borderline. Hang on, is that legal these days? And is that allowed anymore? But at the same time, you look at them. They are quite clearly inspired by real world cultures and things going on, and then all of the sci-fi tropes. So you go into the future, they've got machinery that is beetles. And they move like beetles with blade legs, and every bit of drama there is quite clearly because it's a man with a sword fighting machines.
Mm-hmm.
It's done with this poise. Every scene is given the right weight. Every interaction with the public, with the innocent people of the world, is given the right respect for those people.
Yeah.
There's,
and then you've got, of course, the epic quest, and all those things that come from anime.
Yes, an episode I really loved was the Rat Archers. It's a tower with 3 blind archers that were cursed to be blind, and so trained their hearing because they were transformed into these rats, so they have better hearing, and so. They protect an area around this tower with arrows so particularly they can swat insects out of the air from hundreds of yards away. And it goes back to he takes off the robe in the snow, ties a blindfold around his eyes so that he can hear what they hear.
Which is just such a ninja movie trope. Thing. Yeah.
Well, he practices to and it's not with dialogue. There's no, I must do this. No, it's just him observing what's going on, and you see the decision he makes and how it affects things. And
show don't tell.
Yes, wonderful sense of show don't tell. So, absolutely, would recommend this one to other people.
We were talking about him, there were whole episodes with no dialogue, and I know there's one where he's wandering through the woods, dealing with some threat that's chasing him, and for some reason it's giving me flashbacks to the last season of Jujutsu Kaisen, where I think it's Mahito and Itadori, and it keeps flashing to this this artistic interpretation of what's actually happening, where Itadori has a pack of wolves with him that are chasing down Mahito, and that scene has very similar feels to things you might see in Samurai Jack.
There's always the poetic parallels they draw with the art style.
Yeah.
And then
just looks so bored.
They introduce they introduce some wonderful study. But I love the fact that later on they introduce characters that are genuinely like the foil to Jack in the Scotsman.
Yeah.
He too has a magic sword. He too is incredibly skilled. He too will take on impossible odds, but he does it in a way that makes Scotland proud. He is loud, proud, has a gun for a peg leg, and
Jack is quiet, contemplative, and reserved, and this guy's just like the exact opposite.
Yes,
he's Brian Blessed.
And they meet on a bridge where one of them has to move to let the other one pass, but if they do, one of them might possibly fall off, and so they have a fight and end up at the bottom of the gorge, and it's and the Scotsman just laughs and says, you're all right, laddie, and claps him on the back afterwards, and they become fast friends goofy. And go off on adventures. But then they go their own way, and they meet up again other places, and it's a wonderful comparison to see these different styles in there. Even silliness. Like, obviously, this on screen we've got a dog wearing a pith helmet and has a ring on. Strange device on his nose that helps him smell things better. And that is obviously like early Cartoon Network cat dog, cow and chicken silliness as well. So I love the blend. I love the inspirations there, and yet the animation is quite clearly from the West.
Yeah.
Xeno, have you contemplated?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, because to me, Samurai Jack doesn't aspire to any one culture. It feels very much like, the best way I can describe it, as an English breakfast. Right, it's a bit of everything, and realistically, what you get is the whatever you decide to put the combination of. I don't really
want to sum up the parts.
Yeah, exactly. But they're still independent parts. Like, from what very little of Samurai Jack I did watch, I just didn't enjoy the show at all. It didn't feel like there was a great deal to Jack, at least in the first few episodes. Like, it's like, this is a samurai. It's like, okay, what can you tell me about the samurai? And it's like, it's the samurai.
A lot of stuff gets revealed later on.
And to me, that it feels like there should be a heritage to him, a culture to him, a family history to him that just, at least wasn't there in the beginning. And oddly enough,
really? I think it's because they wanted to they didn't want to front load everything. They wanted to reveal stuff as they went along when it was story relevant.
Yeah. I liked it in the same way that I liked the opening episodes of The Mandalorian, because it was that character that you did not know and was slowly introduced to things.
Actually, oddly enough, right, in The Mandalorian, I nearly stopped watching it because the first 3 episodes dragged on so badly. Right? If it wasn't for the end of the 3rd episode, I would have quit watching The Mandalorian. I was so bored. Right? Genuinely.
TikTok break.
Musicals, Mandalorian. Xeno's lining himself up for that shot quite nicely.
Well, I mean, I really did enjoy the episode you just described with the impasse on the bridge. Like, Jack was in a mood, and neither one of them wanted to go back to the
other end.
Yeah, to the where they are. I that was like the one episode I did watch that I actually enjoyed. But the one with like the Beatles and things like that, I was just like, oh my god, I'm bored. So it's
yeah, and
it's not going to be for everyone.
I had problems with it too because I never finished it. When they came back and were like, and actually released the final season years later or whatever, I kept telling myself I'm going to go back and rewatch it. I'm going to go back and rewatch it. I'm going to finish it, Everyone says it's great. It never did.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I went back, finished the bits I hadn't, and then watched the end of the final season. And I was really satisfied I did.
Right. I want to pivot. I want to talk about, by far, the best anime-inspired cartoon. We've briefly spoken about it already.
Oh, yes.
And that's ThunderCats. Right, the ThunderCats 2011.
Yeah.
Another show that ended too soon.
Yeah, far too soon. Right?
Definitely.
It ended on a cliffhanger.
What did we get instead? ThunderCats Roar.
Many, many years later, right? I think it was 8 or 9 years later, we finally got ThunderCats Roar. I watched half an episode. I watched half an episode of ThunderCats Roar. But we're not here to talk about ThunderCats Roar. We're talking about ThunderCats 2011.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how this series takes inspiration from, you know, like anime and things, even though it's set on a completely alien world, right? The whole idea of honor, the whole idea of family, friendship, the
whole idea of being in touch with nature,
and how you pass down the sword, as it were.
Yeah,
but not because it's the because you're passing down a weapon, but because you're passing down a leadership,
a heritage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The whole bonds of destiny with Mumra, who's been there from the beginning of the ThunderCats and things like that. It is such a well thought out, well put together show, and it was so clearly ahead of its time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
so I always come back to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I always come back to how I genuinely feel sorry for how Lion-O's story progresses in this. Not because of anything that, you know, he's not a pitiable character, but because in this, I thought that he would deserve some recompense for the things he puts in. He spends the entire series, this series, becoming the leader that they should actually deserve, you know, that the ThunderCats deserve to have, and the leader that he was born to be eventually. But he doesn't get the payoff from that. It's more, you know, yes, he becomes a more mature person, he gets the leadership, he becomes a king, but all the things that come from character growth that you'd expect to have come from character growth, like in this case, romance. Okay? You thought that there was going to be something with Chitara because of the way that she behaves around him in the early season. But then it turns out that no, she's got a much longer standing and far more relatable relationship with Tigra. And then think, oh yeah, so he's got this other character that gets introduced that seems absolutely made for him, and turns out to be a spy for the other side. So that's why they seem made for him, because they're literally tailoring their personality to appeal to Lion-O. Other things, you know, there's a few other things that you think that come with the mantle of responsibility, like some of the celebratory things, and we don't get that because the series ends and there isn't a sequel.
Yeah,
but this is another one where you've got very like Western proportions to the bodies, but then you've got like. Earlier we saw a close-up on Lion-O's face, and he had very anime eyebrows, and he's got like Goku hair, and again, like the little kids had the really big eyes, and
but that was so much better for this because, of course, Lion-O's supposed to be related to a lion, so having the Goku hair gives him a mane. It's a great way of incorporating these styles into. But like all the colors are very vibrant.
You know, I swear a lot of anime has more muted colors, not just big, vibrant, solid colors. But yeah, it's a great blending though.
Yeah, even the shows that you think are very vibrant are only vibrant by contrast. So when you look back at something like the early One Piece episodes, something we thought was like a bright red shirt actually was quite a muted red when you actually stop and look at the episodes. So it almost looks like the whole thing needs color correcting. But these, you have different lighting, so you have like up
obviously this like a sepia lighting, so it looks different,
and it's sepia lighting because it's shot at sunset, and it's literally it's part of the scene setting as much as anything else, because they're looking at sunset. It's dinner time, and these two are cheering because they've been offered food.
I just want to tangent and check. It's like, I know that the supermarket next to you, Thaylien, is currently offloading their
is it still
food
really clear? I've got the new noise cancelling.
Right, are they using a hammer or something to take the pallets off of the because like, dear God,
you know those like pump trucks that you use for shifting pallets around?
Yeah.
Oh, and then dropping. You know how that, so they're literally like dragging them across the tailgate of the truck onto a metal loading bay platform.
Okay.
So as they come off the truck, it's like clank down onto the platform, then clank onto the loading bay. It's
right. Okay. Who?
This is not doing it at like 10 o'clock at night.
That's true. Who wants to take? Maybe we should record it
before we leave this one. I would say the story is also very anime. Like the actual.
You see, like to me. There is nothing more Western in a narrative than doing a Moby Dick story, which is the third episode of. There is nothing like.
True. Yeah, so I meant the more overarching story, but sure,
I will give you that. I will give you that. But it's really interesting that you say this, because like I do agree with you on a whole, but there are like, you've got your Gulliver's Travels narrative, you got your Moby Dick narrative, like there are so many. It's like almost whenever I see a Moby Dick story, I just want to skip it.
That just sort of lends the idea that this is a good synthesis of East and West.
Yeah.
With lots of the hero's journey elements, but also with the theming and the progression that you expect from a more anime style.
Like finding out more Mumra's history with the ThunderCats feels very anime. The fact that there's a whole space angle going on feels very anime.
Yes. So I love the fact that they've got this world that's Thundera, that's been colonized by the ThunderCats and all the races there, and it's all come from a crashed ship, a crashed slave ship. The original ThunderCats crashed because they want to be free of Mumra, and it's all their legends about how they took up the Sword of Omens and defeated Mumra with it. It's all from those times that were far more sci-fi based. We had all of these quite obvious start, and I love the fact they set their lore up to tell us all about these things first, and then show us how it actually happened to speak such a contrast.
I completely agree. In all honesty, out of this entire list, I would highly recommend. I would recommend ThunderCats 2011 the most. Just know it ends on a cliffhanger and doesn't get a conclusion, right? But
I don't know
damn,
the most, but it's so definitely up there. Yeah.
Well, okay. What would you rate higher than ThunderCats? You're wrong. Sorry. You're wrong. Sorry.
No, I don't know. I don't think I have a number one. I think I have several ties for number one, and that would be Invincible, She-Ra, ThunderCats, Avatar, and Batman. It's a 5-way tie.
Jesus Christ, man!
It's a 5-way tie.
Wait.
It's a 5-way tie.
Anyway, well, ThunderCats is in there, so
why don't we go on to one that is is on the list, but is debatably anime inspired, but
okay,
still has a lot of the thing, which is Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts.
Oh, I've not seen this.
Neither have I.
No? Okay.
No. It's all on you, Thaylien.
This one I absolutely love because, well, for a start, it drew me very much in on the opening episode. Having no explanation, it dumps the main character out of a disaster. We don't know what the disaster is, but we have her dumped out, and it's so this purple-skinned girl, and it's quite obviously the purple skin is not some stylistic thing like it would be in another Western show. This is actually deliberate because people with more regular human skin tones, ranging from white to black, appear later. But you spend the opening of this with her like yelling because she looked at the sky, she's going to go blind. Oh wait, hang on, no, it's fine. And then she explores this world, which is so obviously different. It's a post-apocalyptic thing. There's, as they call them, Wonderbeasts, but they're the giant monsters that are living in this landscape. But everything from tiny creatures to gigantic turtles that are actually slugs, if you could see under the water, going around. You spend that first episode exploring and seeing this world for the first time. And it does a really wonderful job of setting that tone and setting us up to know this main character and how they react to things.
So it's Gurren Lagann meets Sabikui Bisco without the giant robots.
Kind of. Without the giant robots. No, you have giant monsters instead of giant robots.
Yeah.
This show, it also has one of the best intros ever. Just the opening, it properly gets you hyped for what's going on. It's similar to how the first season of Mushoku Tensei does it, where they set the scene around you with the opening, but instead of purely panning around the scenery, they actually incorporate the title card into the environment. So you'll pan through to some sticks that have been laid out to look like the word Kipo, and then it will pop out to the actual Kipo and the Age of Wonderbeasts title card. Tell us what the episode is, and then cut straight back into the story. After this banger bit of music. Honestly, I need to find the extended version of that again. So good. You have your cast of colourful characters. A guy that is our main character here, which you can see on screen. She's
their anime hair,
purple white hair and purple skin, having just been thrown out into this world to experience it. And you find out her story as the thing progresses. But then there's survivors who have been living in this world from other places. A guy he gets by on being, a quick talker, street savvy, and he's got a friend who is one of these monsters with his own unique weird rules. Then there's the wolf girl who was raised by literal talking wolves, and she was raised as part of their family, but tragically, so that the children, the wolf pups, would learn to hunt even one of their own if it was necessary. So they adopted a girl to literally raise her. Yeah,
this guy is so top heavy. How does he even stand up?
Sorry for anyone listening. Nasuth pointing on the screen to a frog whose head is massive and arguably would cause them to follow.
Yeah.
Yes,
and on screen right now is a car that's being worn by a slug as if it's a snail shell.
Yeah.
Weird. There's another one that's around where the bees are actually dubstep bees, and make dubstep noises instead of buzzing. It's very inventive, very bizarre. It does tell a really good story, a really good adventure through this world, sets it very well, and the animation, while looking distinctly Western, more like these ones we had when we were growing up, like Arg Real Monsters and things, sketchy lines and weird proportions for the monsters. The styling genuinely smacks of anime at every turn, with the action scenes, the smear scenes where you've got a background flying past so fast that it's turning into a blur of colors, and then the people are being animated over the top of it. The movement is energetic where it needs to be, and it's it slows down and lets people like look out of the sunset and dub over while so that they can save on animation costs. But there is always this charm to it of this unique world that they've got, and some really likable characters. As I say, it's a really close analogy to an anime. But again, as Xeno's pointed out on these things, it's where you can't really tell where the anime ends and the Western begins, because it's amalgamated. It's blurred together so much from the inspirations. So
we're 25 years in from anime becoming, really starting to hit its popular stride. It's no surprise, honestly, that it's become harder to separate it and Western animation. And I mean, do you have anything else to say about this one?
Not really, other than that I genuinely recommend it to people. It's a really good story.
So
pop one out and have a quick look through.
And the Age of Wonderbeasts.
Should be still on Netflix. I don't think they've taken it off yet.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, we've gotten to the point that we even have Western places sort of remaking anime.
Yes.
In the form of Voltron, the Legendary Defender, which is literally a remake of Xenogelion, or, well, probably the Voltron version of Xenogelion, but either way.
Yeah.
And it's another one kind of like She-Ra or ThunderCats, where they really try to make the villains be more than one note, more than one, than just, oh, they're evil, we must fight them because they want to destroy us. The heroes aren't
more
just
the villains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the heroes, the good guys are the whole like history of the ThunderCats and ThunderCats. Sorry, the history of the Xenogelion. Xenogelions and Voltron, and the castle, like the royal family and everything. Those all have more depth to them than the original. But this is clearly Western. If you look at it, like look at these faces; they are very Western style. Look at the outfits they're wearing; very Western style. But also with a good dose of anime in them. Like they're trying to mimic like the princess that we saw earlier on screen. Her hairstyle with the hair coming down kind of around her eyes, underneath them. That is very anime, right?
Yeah, the elven ears and the facial markings and things. Very much reminiscent of older anime.
And a lot of the old technology, not the modern technology, but the old technology, like the lions in the castle, very anime themed.
Really do a good job of making the pilots, when they're actually wearing the suits for forming Voltron, they very much look like the old style of what's the word? Super Sentai suits. Sure,
yeah. But their faces even still look Western.
Yeah, within that. Yeah. So I love that they tried to make all of the characters more than just one note. They gave them these backstories that get revealed over time. They gave the villains actual stories that put them into the places they are. But it's still very, very much anime inspired, with apart from it being Voltron, being Xenogelion. It's the action scenes will feature these big movements, these big telegraphing the attack to the audience, and then cutting to just after the attack happens to show, like, it's almost like the sheathing of the samurai sword afterwards, where the cut happens.
Which is a very Voltron thing to do, really.
Yeah, it's for giant robots, where the giant enemy that they've just sliced with the Voltron lion sword is then falls apart after they've passed it and after they're posing at the other end.
Yes. Now, I
All
will
of those
say,
tropes are there.
I remember the first season of this being really good, and then I think I got bored during the second season. Don't remember
I
for
wouldn't
sure.
have blamed you. So they had a problem with sticking the landing on this one.
Yeah.
The ending did leave a bit of a sour taste in a few fans' mouths. I found it perfectly acceptable. I didn't mind it at all. Although the excuses they gave for certain things happening were very much plot contrivances.
Mm.
But then, okay, I mean, look on screen. Look at the action lines.
Yeah,
this.
look at that.
It's
Voltron.
definitely Western style, but it's still an anime action line.
That looks like a guy in a suit. You know, an animated guy in a suit.
Yes.
Yeah. For people listening, it was the actual fully formed Voltron on screen, like holding its arm up in a pose and cool, you know.
Having just united. So what?
So I feel that Voltron, this incarnation of Voltron, it has its roots quite clearly defined in the Japanese setting and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the original Go-Go line was animation. It wasn't.
Yes, yeah, there was never a live action Go Lion that I'm aware of.
And it looks incredible. What they did with the characters was good. It also has sort of the anime goof moments, which oddly enough,
Definitely.
Avatar: The Last Airbender carries a lot of. You know, moments where effectively characters say something stupid and other characters fall over with a thunk sound effect.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of that is in there, but at the same time, the show quite clearly suffers from production issues, where Netflix, being notorious Netflix that they are, would cut a season in half to then say we've got multiple seasons. I think, if anything, the way that the West does shows or handles shows is the thing that deters me from ever watching anything. It's great that Voltron got like a proper ending at least, and I was lucky enough to actually pick it up from like season 5, so like season 5 had just aired, so I started watching it. But a lot of American funded shows that they'll start production and then it's just like, are we going to finish this? Are we going to get an opportunity to finish this? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which it could be one of the one of the other shows that we have on here is Young Justice, which I argue is not anime inspired at all. But again, Young Justice was years between seasons. Right?
Yes.
It was like, I think it was like a decade, if not longer, between seasons 2 and 3.
Mm.
You know, it's just because like, oh yeah, we didn't know if we could actually, could get the actual production. It's bong. It baffles me. Absolutely baffles me with this.
It's bad enough with live action stuff. It's even worse with animated stuff.
Oh,
it's
so
just
much worse with animation.
Like I said earlier, there's no production backbone for adult animation.
Well, I mean, like, look at Invincible. I think it was 2 years before we had the announcement that season 2 was in production.
Yeah,
it was something absolutely baffling.
That's not even published. On TV. That's a streaming service.
Yeah,
where there's guaranteed to be space.
Yeah.
So I don't know why Western studios are treating the animation market like it's got to line up with TV, as standards. You just have to do it. It will be an audience.
But will it make money?
Yes.
No. That isn't the question. The question is, will it make all
the money?
Yeah. There we go. See, that's the difference. So,
does anyone want to throw out any other honorable mentions? Mostly because Avatar took up so much time at the start.
That's true. We mentioned She-Ra, which is another good one. Quite clearly has the anime inspiration
more of a Steven
for its
Universe
characters because
inspired, but Steven Universe is also anime inspired.
She-Ra is definitely, because the original She-Ra was another Japanese animation studio, but it's one where they took the Barbie doll characters and gave them actual personalities and actual human shapes.
Yeah, exactly.
They gave them all the same human shape.
No. They definitely
the original She-Ra, every female character looked the same.
No, I'm saying it's a differentiation between that. The remake is where they gave them actual human shapes.
Yeah, and like Clodag's an actual character, and
where you quite clearly see the difference between Adora and She-Ra when they transform, or the fact they made Glimmer actually a little bit pudgy. Which is a great thing because she teleports everywhere, so of course she'd be a little bit pudgy.
What I'm realizing we don't have on here, but She-Ra has just reminded me of, is Gem, who is truly outrageous. Truly outrageous. That's an 80s cartoon? Early 90s cartoon?
Never seen it.
Yes. It is an early 80s, it's a late 80s cartoon.
Yeah. And you really have transforming power, magical girls and stuff,
They did, in fact, remake Gem, as far as I'm aware.
It's so Sailor Moon in retrospect, but yeah, anyway.
Then there's RWBY, which Monty Oum was a class act in himself, but he definitely took the anime inspiration for his characters. With the big eyes, with the proportions, with the movements. He absolutely loved to animate fight scenes where the movements was always these inspired quick movements with huge amount of choreographing to get multiple characters involved, and you see that in the fight scenes he actually did animate for the early show. God rest his soul.
And again, obviously the character designs and stuff too.
It was such a shame the early show that he did the fight scenes and they tried to come up with a story in between and didn't do quite so well, and now that he's not there, they tried their best to keep it going, but I can only hope that the takeover from Rooster Teeth by Viz Media is actually going to produce a really good next season.
We'll see.
I thought it was just the comics that got picked up.
No, the show.
Oh, okay.
We've actually seen the storyboards of what they want to do with it, the preview things like they usually did on Rooster Teeth, where they show things that they want to do for it. So the plan is all there, and hopefully they'll animate it.
Right. I think the last show I want to briefly touch upon is The Dragon Prince. Right. I personally, even though ChatGPT decided, hey, do you know what? Dragon Prince, that's inspired by anime. I don't know what you've been sniffing, ChatGPT, but it's clearly not binary. I would go with this one on the same way that I did with Arcane. I'd say that if you 2D animated this, it would I'd say less
as an anime.
I would say so much less. Like this reads so much more of just a generic Western fantasy. But
yes, it does.
I see. To me, the Dragon Prince is DreamWorks, but not DreamWorks. I actually think it is just flat out DreamWorks. I think it's done by the same people that did Voltron, which was DreamWorks. But again,
I don't think it is. I think this is their own studio.
Okay, it's great. It's an absolutely fantastic watch, and people should check it out. Genuinely. I think it's just had the 5th season. So the 4th, sorry, the seasons 1 through 3 are its own story, and then out of nowhere they started a second story, which is seasons.
No, not out of nowhere. They've literally had these things planned because they had a 7-series run planned story for it. So they were really hoping that they would keep getting funded.
MWM Studios and Bandai Entertainment, apparently.
No, Bardell. That's not Bandai.
That's Bardell, dude.
Oh, Bardell. Sorry, Bardell Entertainment. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
You good? But yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's a Vancouver-based one.
Right. But yeah.
Crap.
The Dragon Prince is something the Dragon Prince is certainly something I strongly recommend checking out.
Right. You may have a little bit of trouble on the first season
Holy
because
crap,
they
they've done all
animate.
this.
I know. They animate the non-fight scenes on 3s, so it's a little bit choppy in some of the movements for the first season, but they fix that for the rest of it, and it's really well animated for the rest.
All right, should we move on with the rest of the episode? So,
Absolutely.
do we have any conclusions we want to add?
Well, I mean, there's also Blood of Zeus, which is clearly...
As if you had your opportunity.
Okay, fine.
Falls into the same category as Castlevania.
Fine. Yes, exactly. That's what I was going to say, Thaylien. That's all I was really going to say.
But not Nocturne. Don't watch Nocturne.
Don't watch Nocturne.
Right.
We don't go to watch Nocturne, no.
Conclusions, it's good if it's done right.
Yep.
No, I
definitely need a stamp for that. We do.
God.
A graphic we can put in whenever somebody says it.
So
I would say...
You go.
I would say that, as Xeno has put forward as a thing, anime is so much a part of the world now that it's very difficult to separate where the inspirations actually do come from for any given show that the West does now. And
it's slowly starting to bleed the other way, too.
Yes, it is. But the true thing that you want to look for is those action-packed fight scenes, those energetic characters, and then those scenes where they just let a moment sit. And it does take a good bit of direction, good bit of storytelling to really bring these out. But there are these Western shows that we will recommend, even though we're anime fans, because they tell a good story.
If they get finished.
If they get finished. But even then, with ThunderCats, it told a good story up until the cliffhanger.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though. Is it's a cliffhanger, and I wanted the rest, and I got so upset. I found out
where it was so good up until the cliffhanger, and then you know.
What? Which Stargate Universe did you watch?
Oh, Stargate Universe was amazing. Okay, we're not having this argument.
Nope.
It got better. It got good at the end.
So we didn't get to Carmen San Diego, though. That was a good one. Still. Yeah.
Right.
No.
Cool. So I think that's the biggest problem. Western productions, they just suffer from, and it never got a second season.
It suffers from a lack of infrastructure, shall we say, in order to make these productions happen in a more timely manner.
Yeah.
And the desire for corporations to make all the money.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the supporter questions. So, Zrugal asks, before we start the supporter questions, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening to our podcast so far. We really appreciate all the likes and comments everyone leaves in these episodes. If you can't think of anything to say, then you can just scroll down and like other people's comments. Any engagement is good engagement. It's not wrong, to be fair.
Thumbs down the video if you want. I don't care.
He does.
Do it.
Right.
You guys won't. No balls.
Zrugal asks, name a random anime you enjoyed but seldom talk about. Go.
Ooh.
That's
really difficult for me.
Because talks about the guy all the time.
Talk about the ones you enjoy. All the time you talk about the ones you enjoy. So ones that I enjoyed that I don't talk about all that much are usually ones that I enjoyed despite myself. So
Love
something
After World
like
Domination.
Yep.
Ooh,
like
yeah.
Sayuki or Love Hina, where the people don't really usually like them, but I enjoyed despite myself.
I don't know you.
No, you really don't.
Moving on. Functionally Obsolete asks, can anyone, including our audience, think of an anime that would make for a good video game if it was made into a dark, gritty hack-and-slash adventure by From Software? Goblin Slayer. Like
Goblin Slayer,
2
sure.
seconds.
Berserk's a bit obvious.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Skeleton Knight from Another World.
Yeah, that could function. I think the main character would have to be enjoying himself more than a FromSoft character would.
I mean, if you made it dark and gritty.
Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, no. God, I thought of one. Funnily enough, Frieren.
Yeah.
Because even though... Because
you made it dark and gritty.
Yeah, because the magicians in that
Handyman
world
Saito
are
in another
really
world.
good bosses. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good one. What's another one where they take on giant creatures?
Sabiku Ibisco.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately. Right, so moving on. Functionally Obsolete asks, and what about an anime that would make a good game if it was made into a spectacular fighter like Devil May Cry? Spectacular fighter like Devil May Cry by Capcom. I know it's spectacular because I've seen the Nero memes.
Magical Spec Ops Oscar.
What?
100%. 100% a good spectacle fighter.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think, yeah, Guyver. I think Guyver would. Yes. So you jump in the Guyver suit and you have to fight against these with all the Guyver moves as a full combat thing. Like
I do think Guyver would make a good brawler, but I'm not sure if it would make a good brawler like Devil May Cry
either.
Let's think.
Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'll go with that one because you can definitely go through the. Imagine him spinning through a crowd of enemies and doing finish on them. Yes.
Kobayashi's Dragon Maid again.
Yep.
What is wrong with you?
Come on.
It's called having a sense
Toru
of
would be
humor.
amazing.
Yeah.
Nasuth needs a robot body.
Oh yeah, it does. I said Kana wielding a giant crab that acts.
Yeah,
like a
exactly.
sword.
Nasuth needs a robot body asks, how about an anime that would make for a good game if it was turned into a cute platformer like Kirby? Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Nasuth!
Cute platformer like Kirby. Oh no, there's a couple of those.
Weirdly enough, I think Shy would work. Slime 300, sure.
But Slime 300, yeah. Because you just go through killing slimes a lot and then take on big bosses with overpowered things you picked up. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine it starting, and then the first thing that the character does is just lie on the floor and not move for the next 10 minutes.
And the boss battles are actually the boss battles are actually like concerts. Like it turns into Guitar Hero.
Yeah, there you go. All right,
yeah, fair enough.
And you have to fight your own Shy meter.
And of course, we can't forget a point-and-click adventure. The kind where you always hit a point where the path of progression makes zero sense. Ah, someone's played The Dig. One Piece.
Yes.
I would possibly say Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Dragon Maid.
What?
Yeah.
Nasuth. Right. Okay, well, if you two aren't going to continue, let's move on to the comments. So, moving on
Yay.
to the comments from the cast.
No, the news.
Sorry, news.
Yeah,
Sorry, the news. The news first. And apparently, Zrugel's comment was mysteriously swallowed by YouTube, Nasuth?
Yeah, he came back to say that,
It was.
but didn't really add anything else to it. So I was like, well,
Okay.
fuck.
No idea what happened there. So Strawberry Shell says, so the biologist story was Ranma, not the Dr. Stone story, which I literally thought it would be. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That Hello Kitty hits a home run story reminds me of a meme. I'll have to look for it and post it in the user submitted memes.
I wonder if he
We
did.
might see it in a bit then.
I wonder if he
hopefully
did.
we'll see it hopefully soon. And now moving on to the cast, right? What was last week? Was it the
that was the one with laws
episode?
No, yes.
No,
6th episode, yes.
All right.
Yes.
6th episode.
Cool. So Zrugal says, does anyone else think the name I Parry Everything could be holding the show back? I'm not saying it has no other flaws, but I feel like we, as viewers, might expect more and be more interested if the show... in the show, if it had some other name. This is more of a commentary on the theme of names.
One second.
Yeah. The answer is yes, I agree with the sentiment.
So instead of I parry everything, it should be I parry some things and hit the rest of them with my big fist.
Okay,
no, it should be.
This is a show that had its name shortened from the light novel title.
Oh yeah, the light novel.
Yeah, it was I parry everything. What do you mean? I'm the strongest. I'm not even an adventurer yet.
Yep.
So yes,
Even
that
worse.
has more of an expectation on it, but I think that would just be a worse title.
Oh, nice. I'm disappointed I haven't started VTuber Legend yet. Yep.
Get on it.
Yep.
Go on, watch.
I like quality assurance, in other words, but him actually fixing bugs bothers me. If he can still submit bug reports, why is there no communication with the real world? And also, like Xeno said last time it was brought up, why do the characters not have to update the game client? And like, that's not how lag works. Little things, sure, but how many little reasons does it take to be annoying? Actually, a question. I
think that tolerance is different for everyone.
It is always different for everyone, and I think it's also what the subject matter is, because like because it's like programming and gaming and electronics and all that sort of stuff, that's really close to home for me. Like, it bothers me so much more. If it was something like car repair or sci-fi, spaceships and stuff like that, like, it wouldn't bother me nearly as much.
It's the same way that game mechanics showing up in isekais, like people getting hoods in their vision or whatever, always bugs the crap out of me and draws me out of whatever I'm watching. Or it doesn't have to be an isekai; it could just be a fantasy show. But either way, and that tolerance is going to be different for other people, obviously, because.
I say autumn all the time.
Correct.
Right. Then moving on to Strong Michelle. I haven't had time to watch much anime this week, so thank you guys for the reviews.
You're welcome.
I got a variety of quality of shows in this one. Glad there are a few good ones this season. I'm also
fair amount of male
stuff.
ones.
You're a man of culture, Strongest.
Yep.
You're a man of culture.
And now it is time for the best part of the show. It is time for the memes.
And as always, here's my spiel. We mostly get our memes from Reddit. I think I have one from YouTube this time. I'm not sure if either of you got any other ones. And
I have no video memes this time around.
No video memes this time around.
Nasuth has been banned from Reddit because he's a dick and he stole my meme.
Which itself is like a week old from Discord. You probably already seen it if you're in our Discord. Speaking of our Discord, you can come to our Discord and submit memes of your own. We select up to 6 viewer memes per week. Well, we don't. We have a person who kindly enough gathers them all for us so that we don't see them until we react to them live on this show. So feel free to just links in the description to the Discord. Hop in there, submit memes, come tell us about your favorite anime openings, all that good stuff. I think that's everything I need to say before we get into it. Shall we get into it?
Yeah.
All right. Viewer meme at number 1. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
See, as the only one of you that's watched this far into One Piece,
that's great.
I find that even funnier.
I can tell it's from One Piece because of the art style, but
Yes. Don Flamingo, I choose you.
Wait, that's the character's name? Don Flamingo, jeez.
So my parents in their 30s. This would make a wonderful home to extend our family. Me in my 30s. I'll never financially recover from this. Buying the big bitties.
Completely relate.
Oh my god, it's so expensive these days.
Thaylien, you wanna?
Women be like, I'm angry because you don't get why I'm angry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Women.
Xeno?
Look, Mom, I'm Cowboy Bebop! Slap. Cowboy Bebop is the title of the anime! You're Spike Spiegel! You fucking weeb wannabe! Yep, that's brilliant. I love that. I fucking love that. Amazing. Top shit.
Oh my god, that's a lot of text.
In Japanese...
Yep.
In Japanese, ne, particle?
Yeah.
And the British slang term in it serve the same function. Standard English, it's cold, isn't it? Japanese, samui desu ne. British, it's fucking freezing, innit? Right?
Yeah. Kawaii desu in it, bruv.
Oh my god. Right. I have to do everything around it. Yeah.
I like the fact his username is Watcher Entertainment. Yeah. His name's Watcher Entertainment, which is the British Watcher.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. So on to my memes. I have 3 video memes. We're starting off hot.
So, Jenna, how are you going with that boy you were talking about? Well...
Oh my god.
No, stop. We're related. Stop.
Hey, Genu, I had a nightmare.
Yeah, me too.
I'm scared to sleep alone. Can I sleep with you tonight?
No.
Not too well.
Well, have you tried being a little more direct?
This running date was a great idea, Genu. But you know, there's other ways to get me hot and sweaty.
This isn't a date, Jenna. It's just a regular stroll through the park.
Hey, how about we race? If I win, we finish this workout back in my room. And if you win... Genu? I'm starting to think he just doesn't have feelings for me.
Oh, please. You're the most popular girl in school, Jenna.
Oh, shoot, this is the full
Everyone
version.
Has feelings
Oh.
for you. The only person who wouldn't
It's
would
fine.
be
Oh, well.
like a sibling or something. But it's not like you're trying to hook up with your brother, right, Jenna? Jenna?
Oh my god. Yep.
So I originally, when I got this, I cut that very last bit off. So it just stopped with the running, but it's
Right.
not a big deal. Anyway,
Full version's still good.
yeah, oh yeah, heck yeah.
Good job.
So, if I had a nickel for every time Brittany Karbowski was cast as a blue-haired femboy demon lord, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? So this is obviously
Weird.
from we've got Kanpai news earlier this week. If you watched that, you know that level 1 demon lord is finally getting a dub. Interestingly, after all this time. Anyway,
Oh really?
you were in the news. You know that, Xeno.
Oh man, I knew that.
This is the thing. Xeno forgets everything right after we record it, so...
We definitely don't
Sorry,
record
what?
this first and then the news. Nope. Anyway. Mappa, what can you say about your new movie, Attack on Titan, Final Season, Version 5, Part 69, the movie, the end sequel? I like money.
Not wrong.
Video meme number 2. Anime YouTubers rushing to upload their The Rise and Fall of Jujutsu Kaisen videos the picosecond it ends.
I love the Pokemon music.
This goes on for a while. I could probably just go ahead and oh my god, so many though. Right.
Yeah.
Is it music? Oh my god.
Absolute cinema.
Cinema. Oh no, it's not Pokemon. It's fucking
It's the Wii
Sonic,
shop music, isn't it?
from-
oh,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
No.
No, I think it's Sonic.
Funny enough, I think it's Rise of the Werehog, which actually had a really good
Is
soundtrack
it?
for the Sonic things. I think it's one of those.
And
No,
then,
no.
of course, the meme that I stole from Xeno.
Okay.
It just works so well. Now I probably can't play this whole thing because
Do it.
we will
Just do it.
Just do it anyway.
Do it. Don't care. Just do it.
I have no idea what this show is either, by the way.
I think it's a movie.
This is a movie called RRR Hindi.
Is this really RRR?
I think it is.
It just keeps working so well. Those were the opening in the opening where everyone jumps are always good. It's just so like, how does it work so well?
I've got to know, like, were there any additional cuts made to that? Like,
Yeah, it feels like there were a couple. It feels like where they were all running around him in the middle. That might have been a cut to get to that point, but it's man.
That's so well done.
Right, on to Thaylien's memes.
This tweet has been deleted by the tweet author. So, I stand by my tweet, but some fucker with a profile picture liked it, so I'm deleting it. Jahi's picture.
That's not Jahi, that's Nagatoro.
Oh, it's Nagatoro, sorry. It's someone with that profile picture liked it, so he's deleting it.
Goddamn anime PFPs.
If Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian, got a Russian dub, how is Alia going to hide her feelings then?
Oh.
Yes! Saw this.
Yeah.
Life imitating art,
It's
imitating
the
life.
shadow on the road in the first one.
Yeah.
You can quite clearly see.
I swear I saw another angle of this where you can see her shadow on the road too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I swear that the bottom one's been punched in.
Give you a better view of her butt.
Or not.
It seems the sisters were pregnant with my children. My name is Ogoro, and on my 111th day of life, I became a father of 2. Satan. NSA and FBI.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you ever finish
anime.
that? You didn't, did you?
No, I didn't, because it was the non-consensual sexuality that completely made me drop it. I swear it wasn't that bad in the manga.
Yep.
You reject me just like that. You really know how to break a woman's heart, don't you? Sorry, I only see you as a sister. I can work with that.
Oh my god.
Anime was a mistake.
Did you just say anime was a mistake?
Yes.
Oh my
Alice,
god.
Quick, we're starting to lose. Use this toy. Necrons.
Oh my god.
My lord. Oh my lord, that's brilliant.
Yep.
Right.
Rest on
And on
toys.
to Xeno's memes.
Gen Z Death Note fans demand to change the name of L to W.
Oh my god.
But he loses, so it's
It's, yeah.
Oh, I'm out of mana. Better use American magic.
I know I've seen this one before, but I don't care.
When I'm in a densest person competition and my opponent is Nor from I Parry Everything.
You're doomed.
Yep. Very much so.
Okay, what the fuck is that from?
Where do you think it's from?
Is this really? Does that really happen in No-Katan? Oh my god! So this is less a meme and more something that just happens.
Yep.
Just a clip from the show. Well done.
But.
All right.
Dad, I want a cat. What kind? Presents picture.
Yeah.
You're a degenerate, son, but at least you're a man of culture.
I am known by many names. Mountain Slayer, Thunder Lion, the Chocolate Axe. But you may call me Tiffany.
Tiffany, huh? That's a pretty masculine name.
Shouldn't be. It's a woman's name.
Oh shit, that's good. Oh, why did that end up on that screen? Don't be on that screen. That's not the screen you want to be on.
Nasuth broke it.
Nasuth broke everything. Nasuth accidentally shook. Nasuth accidentally shook a window, and Windows said, "No, you don't want any of those windows. You want none of those windows."
Okay, there we go. Right. That's it. We're done. It's over. Go home. Eat a.
Why are you still here?
But yeah, it's Freaky Friday.
Okay.
Anyway, that's it because it's on Thursday. Right, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you very much for watching and or listening. And now it's time to bottoms up and
Kanpai.
I'd actually have to start this because I finished my other drink.
That's a new one.